9 toxic dating patterns you don't realize you're living in. The relationship you are in right now might be slowly destroying you, and you might not even know it. Most people walk into toxic patterns completely blind, not because they lack intelligence, but because toxic dynamics are designed to feel normal, even necessary to the person trapped inside them. Few people know that the very things making them miserable are the same things they have been conditioned to believe are signs of love, and that conditioning starts long before you ever meet your partner. It starts in how you were taught to handle conflict, how you learned to measure your worth, and how deeply you internalize the idea that suffering for someone is the same as loving them. You are not supposed to stay silent while something is working against your peace, your growth, and your destiny. So, here are 9 toxic dating patterns hiding in plain sight, and if even one of them sounds familiar, you need to pay very close attention to what comes next. The first toxic pattern is the constant need for reassurance that never actually reassures. You find yourself asking the same questions over and over. Do you love me? Are we okay? Where do we stand? And every single time, the answer feels hollow and temporary, like water running through your fingers. This is a you problem that has been triggered by something broken inside the dynamic. When your partner never makes you feel secure, without you having to beg for it, you are living inside a pattern that will eventually exhaust you completely. Philippians 4 verse 7 speaks of a peace that surpasses understanding, and that peace is supposed to exist inside your relationship too, not only outside of it. If you are working harder to feel safe than your partner is working to make you feel safe, that imbalance is definitely a pattern. The second pattern is the slow and silent erosion of your boundaries. This is a quiet violation where your partner dismisses something you said mattered to you, makes plans without you, goes through your phone when you are not watching, or makes you feel guilty for saying no. Each one feels minor on its own, but when you line them up, you see clearly that your boundaries are being treated as suggestions, not as walls you have a right to build. Listen, if you have allowed your boundaries to be crossed repeatedly without consequence, you have unknowingly taught your partner that your limits do not matter. You are not to blame for being too soft. You are dealing with a toxic pattern that has rewired how you see yourself inside this relationship. The third pattern is emotional withdrawal as punishment. Here, when something goes wrong, maybe a disagreement, maybe something insignificant, then suddenly your partner disappears emotionally. They go cold, they stop talking to you, they pull away without explanation and leave you in a state of complete anxiety. A state that keeps you wondering what you did wrong and how to fix it. This is absolute control. It is a pattern that trains you to associate your own peace with your partner's approval, and it ensures that you will always be the one chasing, always the one reaching out first, and always the one carrying the emotional weight of keeping the relationship alive. Proverbs 17 verse 22 tells us that a cheerful heart is good medicine, but it is impossible to be cheerful when your peace is being held hostage by someone's silence. The fourth pattern is the weaponization of vulnerability. This is when you opened up at some point. You shared something deep, maybe a fear, maybe a wound, or a secret because you trusted this person. But now, every time a disagreement arises, that same vulnerability is being used against you. It is thrown back in your face, twisted into ammunition, or referenced in a way that makes you regret ever being honest. This is one of the most dangerous patterns because it does not just hurt you, it teaches you to never be vulnerable again, which means it slowly kills the possibility of genuine intimacy in any relationship you ever enter after this one. Romans 8 verse 28 reminds us that all things work together for good for those who love God, but that promise does not mean you should stay somewhere you are being punished for being human. The fifth pattern is the moving goalpost. You find yourself doing everything right. You show up always, you communicate passionately, and you put in the work, but somehow, your efforts are still not enough. The standard keeps shifting. What was acceptable yesterday is suddenly unacceptable today. What you were praised for last week is now being criticized. This pattern is secretly one of the most psychologically damaging because it makes you feel like you are going insane. You start doubting your own perception of reality. You begin to wonder if you are the problem. That is exactly where this pattern wants you to be. Confused, second-guessing yourself, and desperate to do more, give more, and be more, because the finish line keeps disappearing. The sixth pattern is the guilt loop, and it is one of the most emotionally exhausting cycles you can be trapped in without realizing it. Every time you try to address something that hurt you, the conversation flips. Suddenly, you are the one apologizing. Your pain becomes the problem. You walked in feeling wounded and walked out feeling responsible. This is a pattern specifically designed to make you stop bringing up anything at all. Over time, you learn that your feelings are not safe in this relationship, and that silence becomes your survival strategy. But silence is not peace. Philippians 4 verse 6 calls you to present your concerns with honesty and prayer. Any relationship that punishes you for wanting peace and voicing out your feelings is a relationship that is working against your spiritual and emotional freedom. The seventh pattern is the comparison trap. Your partner does not have to say it out loud. They compare you to others, to their exes, to other people they admire, and to some impossible standard that no real human being could ever meet. And even if they frame it as motivation, it lands as inadequacy. You begin to see yourself through their eyes, and their eyes are always finding you lacking. This is a hidden form of emotional abuse because it targets the very foundation of how you see yourself. Psalm 139 verse 14 declares that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that declaration does not shrink because someone in your life has decided you are not enough. That decision is a slow, silent poison that eats away at your self-worth, until you genuinely forget what you valued about yourself before this person entered your life. The eighth pattern is the slow replacement of your identity. Before this relationship, you had interests, friendships, dreams, things that made you who you are. And somewhere along the way, without even noticing, all of that started disappearing. You stopped seeing your friends, and you dropped the hobbies you loved. Everything you do now revolves around this person. Their schedule, their mood, their needs, and if you even try to reclaim a piece of yourself, it is met with guilt, subtle criticism, or a feeling that you are being selfish. You are not being selfish, but you are being absorbed. A relationship that requires you to disappear in order to survive is not a relationship. It is a cage built with invisible bars. The ninth pattern is the cycle of rupture and repair that never actually repairs. You fight, it gets bad, then everything becomes love, apologies, and promises that it will never happen again. And for a little while, it feels like things are back to normal. But they are not back to normal. They are back to the beginning of the same cycle, and that cycle is getting shorter every time. The rupture comes faster, but the damage gets deeper, and the repair becomes less convincing. This is one of the most addictive patterns in toxic relationships, because the relief after the storm creates a chemical high that your brain begins to crave. You are not staying because you love the relationship. You are staying because your nervous system has been conditioned to chase the calm after the chaos. Listen, you do not need more time to figure it out or more evidence to convince yourself. You do not need to wait until the damage becomes impossible to ignore. What you need is to stop rewriting the story to protect someone who has not been protecting you. You just need to sit with the uncomfortable, heavy, and honest truth, then let it do what it came to do. You also need to remember, with absolute clarity, that you were not created to shrink. You were not created to translate someone else's cruelty into something you can survive on. Not created to perform, to guess, or to disappear. You were created to love and to be loved. Fully, freely, and without the constant quiet ache of wondering whether you are enough. So here is what I need you to do. Go back through each of these 9 patterns. Do not skim, do not rush. Be ruthlessly, painfully honest with yourself. Not hopeful, not generous, not making excuses. Just be honest. And if you see yourself clearly in even 2 or 3 of them, do not sit and wait for someone else to give you permission to take your life back. That permission was never theirs to give. It has always been yours. The only question left is whether you are finally ready to use it. If this message exposed something you have been ignoring, do not scroll past it like it was entertainment. Engage. Comment with one word that describes what you felt while listening. Clarity, conviction, relief, or awakening. Your honesty may be the confirmation someone else needs to stop normalizing what is hurting them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more content like this. See you in the next video. Stay guided.